Josh, did you ever struggle with self-confidence? No, I was always really good at it. No, of course I did. Everyone does. Everyone at some point in their lives will struggle with, what are they doing? Why are they here? Are they good at this? Are they bad at this? Do people like me? Do people not like me? What's the vibe? What am I doing wrong? Of course, you go through that. And the way that you effectively come out the other side of that journey in hopefully a positive way is Phantom Armor. You should run SFK for this. Yes, I should. The way that you come out the other side of that journey is by finding, we talked about this yesterday, finding a space that you are comfortable exploring what you do and don't think is right with people who are able to offer valuable, personalized, and fair feedback to you. Of course. We spoke about the phrase safe space having a negative connotation to it. The idea that when someone says this is a safe space, what they mean is you are not going to be challenged on anything you think, because doing that would be emotionally turbulent. When what the actual real phrase safe space is meant to mean is a place that you can explore things that you find awkward or difficult to deal with people that you know are going to be respectful of that. Did I say safe space? Damn it! So yeah, it's very, very, very important that if you have issues with self-confidence, you understand that the important thing to do is to be able to discuss those with people that are going to help. I was watching a great video, a clip from Dr. K, where he was saying that the therapy language is weaponized. It's become weaponized. The idea of people saying that this is a boundary, this is a safe space, this is that, this is the other, it has become a way of controlling other people's behavior in a non-supportive way. People use therapy language to dominate conversations and to dominate spaces. They use the phrase like, this is a boundary. That was the example Dr. K gave. This is a boundary for me. And it's fine to have boundaries, but it's also, you need to understand that the boundaries are done to prevent dangerous behavior, or behavior that would be impossible to come back from, not simply behavior that makes you slightly uncomfortable. Because being slightly uncomfortable and learning to deal with and live with that uncomfort is part of the human process. When people say that, do I struggle with confidence issues? One of the reasons that I don't struggle with confidence issues now is it's live, by the way, Isaac. It's live. It's not a rerun. We just have the same conversations. In fact, if you hang around this stream long enough, you'll realize the entire thing is roughly a half-hour loop. And I tend to just tell the same stories and make the same jokes again and again and again, because you can't really expect, like, you wouldn't expect a comedian to come up with 8 hours of new content every day. I like to explain it to people like this. There seems to be a bit of a focus in modern society about removing external factors or external situations that make people feel uncomfortable, unhappy, or unsafe. And this is often done in a way that doesn't address why the individual feels unhappy, uncomfortable, or unsafe, but simply removes the chance of them ever actually experiencing the situation. In doing this, you aren't dealing with the root cause. You are dealing with a symptom, a situation that you don't want to happen. But what you're not doing is giving people tools to deal with this situation when it inevitably happens. The way that I like to describe it is this. And I used to describe this exact metaphor to any students that I was working with. Imagine there is a great dam holding back a huge amount of water. And at the bottom of this dam, a few miles down a valley, is a village. Now, one day, that village may flood. One day, that village, the waters may begin to rise. And the people within that village may need to be able to swim. And this scares people. They don't want the village to flood. So instead of saying, hey, a personal thing that I could do would be learning to swim, they instead say, right, I'm not going to do that, but we're going to reinforce the dam. We're going to reinforce the levees. We're going to reinforce this. We're going to change this. We're going to make sure that we never have to be in the situation where we have to do the thing that we're afraid of. Okay? I get it. But at some point, you have to understand that no matter how much you try to avoid that situation, it is likely going to happen at some point. And so, being able to swim is going to be helpful. Now, Pip, I don't want people in the chat to be like, oh, well, technically, with the force of that water, whether you can swim or not doesn't matter. I'm not talking about the actual logistical, physical act of surviving that amount of water. What I'm talking about is the metaphorical idea that there will be an element of danger, trouble, problems that will be present in your life, and by constantly trying to simply avoid dealing with them, by putting up blocks and walls, you're not actually focusing on what you have to do when those things happen. It's important to be able to know that the things that scare you will be things you have to take on in the future. It's a thought experiment. It's the idea that you can either spend all of your time trying to delay and avoid the situations that make you uncomfortable, or you can spend your time saying, okay, I'm going to try and experience these situations so I know how to deal with them when they happen. We do not rise to the level of our expectations, we fall to the level of our training. So when people say, oh, this makes me uncomfortable, this is a boundary, this is going to be the safe space where I don't deal with this, how do I deal with confidence issues? You deal with it by understanding that the stuff that scares you is the exact stuff you should be training to deal with. That's what it should be. Because otherwise, the stuff that scares you, the stuff that you feel less confident in, eventually becomes this, it takes on almost mythical proportions. You are scared of X, and therefore X doesn't become a real thing as much as it becomes this idea of a thing. And it begins to scare you far more than it ever would normally. You give it this mythical, legendary idea in your mind, instead of saying, you know what? How do I just slowly start to expose myself to these situations and learn what to do within them? Confidence is practice. It is. When you say that you're not confident in yourself, what is it? What element are you not confident in? Is it that you're not confident in talking in a group of people? Is it that you're not confident having a long conversation with someone that you don't know? Is it that you're not comfortable wearing the clothes that you like in public? Because all these things take skill, take practice, they take muscles to do. So by doing them, you train them. Plutonic, true, but you don't need to chase things that you're uncomfortable with if the world isn't forcing you to. A piece of advice is to don't see the difficulty in and lean into those activities. Yeah, I mean, you're not going to solve every problem in a sentence, and we're not going to say this is the exact way you should do it. But what I think is a good thing to be able to do is to recognize what elements of life make you uncomfortable, and then recognize what steps you can take to take a little bit of ownership of that situation. Are you saying there's no space for safe spaces? No, not at all, Gatto. I'm saying that people fundamentally misunderstand what a safe space is. A safe space is not a place where you are not challenged. A safe space is a place where you can take on the challenge and failure isn't punished. The idea of a safe space is allowing someone to explore a difficult concept, a scary concept, a dangerous concept, and work toward the ability to deal with it without them hurting themselves. That's what it would be. Agility and stamina. I actually do need that. That's a pretty good ring. A dojo for training martial arts is a safe space. A boxing ring is a safe space. Because you train to get better at boxing. You train to get better at martial arts. That's what it's doing. A library would be a safe space to be able to read. People think they hear the word safe space as in cotton wool, wrapping everything up, no one ever gets challenged, no one ever gets hurt, nothing difficult gets dealt with. A university should be a safe space within the context of you are able to explore and debate dangerous topics, knowing that when you leave that room, your life is not going to be ruined because of it. Your mental health is not going to be destroyed. What it should not be is a space where you do not get challenged. I think that the word has become bastardized into meaning you must not challenge me. You must not make me feel in any way uncomfortable. You must not say things that I disagree with. You must not hurt my feelings. That is what it's become weaponized to mean. It's become toxic because of the internet culture taking it to mean a place where everything I already agree with is already validated. It means I am going to sit in this room and everyone around me is going to tell me things that makes me feel good and nothing that makes me feel bad. That's not safe. That's an echo chamber. Weirdly, that's actually remarkably dangerous. A martial arts gym that wants to hurt you isn't a safe space. A martial arts gym that wants to teach you the best way to do the moves, to teach you the best ways to stay healthy, to teach you the best ways to care for your opponent while you're sparring with them, that's safe. That's great. Unfortunately, it's become, shifted around with modern terms to very much mean a place that does not challenge, which I think sucks. The moment you stop thinking about challenging yourself and being reliant on how much I do and how I'm productive every day, gave yourself a safe space and some solitude, you now do more than ever. Just, that's fine. That's totally okay as well. Whatever works for you, works for you. And I think this links back to the idea of the whole alpha male boot camp we spoke about earlier. This idea that people are so insecure, they feel that they need to alleviate their insecurities by taking on some kind of physical or mental challenge. You've never heard this modern definition, guess that's why this conversation makes me so confused. Okay, gotcha. So, what the modern definition of safe space, I believe, has become, and this is from my experience talking to people in real life and talking to people online, I think it's become a bit of a Tumblr thing. And I like Tumblr, but it really sometimes is ground zero for the changes to the culture. It's the idea that if someone says to you, is this a safe space? What they often mean is this a place where what I already believe is going to be validated? Is this a place where what I already believe is going to be accepted and not questioned? And there are different levels of that. People should be able to have time. This is what I think is missing. People don't like being bored and they don't like being uncomfortable. But as soon as you get comfortable with boredom, you become forced to accept your own company. And once you get comfortable with being uncomfortable, you can hold a huge amount of authority. Because the ability to hold an uncomfortable silence, especially in a business meeting, is such a position of power. And one of the things that I discover is that when people aren't good at dealing with problems, a tiny problem becomes a major issue. Because their focus is no longer the problem itself, their focus is the fact that they don't know how to go through the process of solving any problem, no matter how big, no matter how small. I've met people who are unable to solve any level of problem, no matter how big and however small. And most people run away from them and think, oh, it'll fix itself. Don't worry about it.